muse of fire that would brighten the greatest heaven of invention. A kingdom for a stage, princes to act, and monarchs to behold the swelling scene.
But pardon, gentles all, the unraised spirits that hath dared upon this unworthy scaffold to bring forth so great an object. Can this cockpit hold the vasty fields of France? Or may we cram within the very casks that have affrighted the fields of Agincourt? Let us ciphers to this great account upon your imagination work. Suppose between the girdle of these two walls are confined two mighty kingdoms, whose high and upreared and abutting fronts a perilous narrow ocean parts asunder. Piece out our imperfections from your thoughts, for 'tis your thoughts that now shall deck our kings, carry them here and there, jumping o'er times, turning the accomplishment of years into an hourglass.
My lord, I tell you that self-bill is urged, which in the 11th hour of our last king's reign was like, and had indeed against us passed, but in that scrambling and unquiet times did push it out of farther question.
But how, my lord, shall we resist it now?
It must be thought on, for if it pass against us, we lose the better half of our possession. For all the temporal lands that men devout by testament had given to the church would they strip from us, and to the coffers of the king besides £1,000 if the year thus runs the bill.
This would drink deep.
'Twould drink the cup and all.
How now for mitigation of this bill urged by the Commons? Doth His Majesty incline to it, or no?
He seems indifferent, or rather swaying more upon our part than cherishing the exhibitors against us. For I have made an offer to His Majesty as touching France, to give a greater sum than ever at one time the clergy yet did to his predecessor's part with all, and upon our spiritual convocation, and in regard of causes now in hand, which I have opened to his grace at large, the several and hidden passages of his true titles to some certain dukedoms derived from Edward, his great-grandfather, and generally to the crown and seat of France.
Henry of Monmouth. Do it again.
Henry of Monmouth.
Later known as Henry V, King of England, was a formidable warrior, perhaps the greatest the country has ever seen.
But thanks to his closely cropped haircut, he looked more like a priest than a soldier.
He had an oval, handsome face, ruddy cheeks, a deeply indented chin.
He had a scar on his right cheek, the result of an arrow that struck just below his eye at the Battle of Shrewsbury.
In stature, he was above average.
Slim, yet athletic.
He had a natural taste for music, had been taught to play the harp.
And he had no equal in jumping.
When Henry was around 13 years old, his father, Henry of Bolingbroke, seized power from an increasingly tyrannical Richard.
Now Henry IV, the usurping royal, plays his eldest son, the Henry of our story, a man who never expected to become king, next in the line of succession.
In the traditional stories of Henry's youth, he had been wild, reckless, spared nothing of his lusts nor desires, but accomplished them after his liking.
As soon as he was made king, he was changed suddenly into another man. This king is a good king, but it must be as it may. He passes some humors and careers.
Now, are we well prepared to know the pleasure of our fair cousin France?
May it please your majesty to give us leave freely to render what we have in charge?
We are no tyrant, but a Christian king. Therefore, with frank and with uncurbed plainness, tell us the French king's mind.
Thus, then, in few, your highness, lately sending into France did claim some certain dukedoms in the right of your great predecessor, King Edward III, in answer of which claim, our master says that you savor too much of your youth, and bids you be advised there's naught in France. You cannot revel into dukedoms there. He therefore desires you let the dukedoms that you claim hear no more of you. This France speaks.
We would be resolved. My gracious Lord of Canterbury, we pray you proceed of some things of weight. Why France should not bar us in our claim?
Then hear me, gracious sovereign. There's no bar to make against your highness' claim to France.
May I, with right and conscience, make this claim?
Gracious lord,
Stand for your own, unwind your bloody flag. Look back into your mighty ancestors. Your brother, kings, and monarchs of the earth do all expect that you should rouse yourself, as did the former lions of your blood. Go, my dread lord, to your great grandsire's tomb, from whom you claim. Invoke his warlike spirit. O noble English, all out of work and cold for action. They know your grace have cause and means and might, in aid whereof we of this spirituality will raise your highness such a mighty sum as never did the clergy at one time bring into any of your ancestors. Therefore, to France, my liege.
Now, we are well resolved. We are glad France is so pleasant with us, and we understand him well. But tell his majesty I will keep my state, be like a king, and show my sail of greatness when I do rouse me in my throne of France. I will rise there with so full a glory I will dazzle all the eyes of France, yea, strike the French king blind to look on us. Tell France I'm coming on, to venge me as I may, and to put forth my rightful hand in a well-hollowed cause. Very well.
This was a merry message.
We hope to make the sender blush at it. Therefore, my lord, omit no happy hour. Let our proportions for these wars be soon collected, and by God's help and yours, the noble sinews of our power, France being ours, will bend it to our awe, or break it all to pieces. Therefore, let every man now task his thought, that this fair action may on foot be brought.
It's 3 o'clock. Songs of Praise from Abbey Wood in southeast London is the next programme on BBC One, and that's at 3:15. In the meantime, we're returning to a trade test transmission.
King of France! From Harry, King of England. He wills you divest and lay apart the borrowed glories that, by law of nature and of nations, belongs to him and to his heirs, namely the crown of France. Willing you overlook this pedigree and bids you then resign your crown and kingdom, indirectly held from him, the native and true challenger. Or else what follows, bloody constraint. Therefore, in fierce tempest is he coming, and bids you deliver up the crown. This is his claim, his threatening, and my message.
De part, on va dire, de Michel.
Thus come the English in full power against us, and more than carefully at us concerns to answer royally in our defenses.
These are terrorists. These are terrorists. They're looking to do bad things to our country. You have to get much tougher.
Therefore, with all swift dispatch, line in new repairer towns of war, with men of courage and with means defendant.
Get a lot of men. You have to dominate. If you don't dominate, then you're wasting your time. You're gonna look like a bunch of jerks.
For England, his approaches makes as fierce.
Now, if you don't put it down, it's gonna get worse and worse. They're radicals. Anarchists. They're anarchists.
Think we King Henry strong, and thus look you strongly armed to meet him.
It's happened before, and the only time it's successful is when you're weak. We're going to clamp down very, very strong. Then you'll never see this stuff again.
Therefore I say 'tis meet we all go forth, and let us do it with no show of fear.
There is no retribution. There is no retribution. Dominate. Dominate. Dominate.
One, Richard, Earl of Cambridge, and the second, Henry, Lord Scroop of Masham, and the third, Sir Thomas Grey, Knight of Northumberland, have, for the guilt of France, oh, guilt indeed, confirmed conspiracy with fearful France. The sum is paid, the traitors are agreed, and by their hands this grace of kings must die. How smooth and even they do bear themselves, as if allegiance in their bosoms sat crowned with faith and constant loyalty. The king hath note of all that they intend, by interception which they dream not of. They shall be apprehended by and by.
Now sits the wind fair, and we will aboard. My lord of Cambridge, and my kind lord of Masham, and you, my gentle knight, give me your thoughts. Think you not that the powers we bear with us will cut their passage through the force of France, doing the execution and the act for which we have in head assembled them?
No doubt, my liege. Each man do his best.
I doubt not that, since we are well persuaded. We carry not a heart with us from hence that grows not in a fair consent with ours, nor leave not one behind that doth not wish success and conquest to attend on us.
Never was a monarch better feared and loved than is your majesty. There's not, I think, a subject that sits in heart grief and uneasiness under the sweet shade of your government.
True. Those that were your father's enemies have steeped their galls in honey and do serve you with heart's creative duty and zeal.
So service shall with steel its sinews toil, and labor shall refresh itself with hope to do your grace incessant services.
We judge no less your too much love and care of me. And now, to our French causes. Then, Richard, Earl of Cambridge, Lord Scroop of Masham, and Sir Knight, Grey of Northumberland, how shall we stretch our eye when capital crimes chewed, swallowed, and digested appear before us? No, I know your worthiness.
I do confess my fault.
And do submit me to your highness' mercy.
To which I appeal.
You must not dare, for shame, to talk of mercy. You have conspired against our royal person, joined with an enemy proclaimed, and from his coffers received the golden earnest of our death, wherein you would have sold your king to slaughter, his princes and his peers to servitude, his subjects to oppression and contempt, and his whole kingdom into desolation. What shall I say to thee, thou cruel, ingrateful, savage, and inhuman creatures? 4 miserable wretches, to your death. We will aboard tonight. Dear countrymen, the signs of war advance. No king of England, if not king of France.
Thus, with imagined wing, our swift scene flies. The well-appointed king and his brave fleet, holding due course to Harfleur. Follow, follow. Work your thoughts, and therein see a siege.
The day is hot, and the weather, and the wars, and the king, and the dukes. It is no time to discourse. The town is besieged, and the trumpet calls us to the breach. On, to the breach, 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 to the breach.
In the French Chamber of Deputies this afternoon, Monsieur Daladier reviewed the history of the last-minute diplomatic attempts to avert hostilities.
Once more, unto the breach, dear friends, once more. Or close the wall up with our English dead. Stiffen the sinews, summon up the blood, disguise fair nature with hard, favored rage. Now set the teeth and stretch the nostril wide, hold hard the breath and bend up every spirit to his full height. On noblest English, be come down to men of closer light and teach them how to war. The men of the country, let us learn to work your with eyes of that, what is that, so and base. Once more, unto the breach, dear friends, once more.
Suppose a messenger from the French tells Harry that the King of France doth offer him Catherine, his daughter, and with her, to dowry, some petty and unprofitable dukedoms.
Alice, je te prie, m'enseigner. Il faut que j'apprenne à parler. Comment appelez-vous la main en anglais?
La main. It is called the hand.
The hand. Et les doigts?
Les doigts. The word for les doigts, I believe, is the fingers.
La main, the hand. Les doigts, the fingers. Je pense que je suis bonne écolier. J'ai gagné 2 mots d'anglais vitement. Comment appelez-vous les ongles?
Les ongles. That is the nails.
The nails. Ouh. Écoutez, dites-moi si je parle bien. The hand, the fingers, et the nails.
Well said, madam. It is good English.
Comment appelez-vous le bras?
The arm, madam.
Et le coude?
The
Elbow.
elbow.
Je m'en fais la répétition de tous les mots que vous m'avez appris dès à présent.
It's too difficult, I think, madam.
Excusez-moi, Alisa. Écoutez. The hand, the fingers, the nails, the arm, et the elbow.
The elbow, madam.
Oh, Seigneur Dieu, je m'en oublie. The elbow. Comment appelez-vous le col?
The neck, madam.
The neck. Et le menton?
The chin.
Le cin. Le col de neck. Le menton de cin.
Yes, if I may say so, Your Highness pronounces the words just like a native English speaker.
Oh. La main. The hand. The fingers. The nails.
The nails, madam.
The nails. Dame. The elbow.
The elbow.
Ainsi dis-je. D'elbow. De neck. Et de cin.
Excellent, madam.
How yet resolves the governor of the town? You men of Harfleur, take pity of your town and of your people. While as yet my soldiers are in my command. While as yet the cool and temperate wind of grace o'erblows the filthy and contagious clouds. Therefore to our best mercy give yourselves. Not why in a moment look to see the blind and bloody soldier with foul hand desire the locks of your shrill shrieking daughters. Your fathers taken by the silver beards and their most revered heads dashed to the walls. Your naked infants spitted upon pikes. If I begin the battery once again, England will not leave the happy chief Harfleur till in her ashes she lie buried. The gates of mercy shall be all shut up, and the flesh soldier, rough and hard of heart and liberty of bloody hand, shall range. Thus says Harry of England. What say you?
Will you yield this boy? Or guilty in defense be thus destroyed?
This king is a good king, but it must be as it may. He passes some humors and careers.
Oh my God!
The governor of Harfleur held off King Henry's siege for as long as he could. When it became apparent that no help would reach them in time, he surrendered the city.
Enter our gates. Dispose of us and ours, for we no longer are defensible. We yield our town and lives to thy soft mercy.
The reign of the French king Charles VI was marked by political disorder and a series of defeats by the English.
He was known as Charles the Beloved.
He was also known as Charles the Mad.
Charles' peculiar behavior started after he'd suffered from a fever and seizures. Thereafter, he experienced periodic attacks of insanity lasting several months.
He also believed that he was made of glass and that he'd shatter if someone approached him.
Charles would often forget his own name, the fact that he had a wife and children, or that he was king.
One particular year, he refused to bathe and wore the same clothes for 5 months.
His doctors eventually tried to cure him by drilling small holes in his head.
They accomplished this through the element of surprise.
A group of men with blackened faces hid in Charles's room and jumped out at him.
Inevitably, the treatment didn't work.
It is now thought that Charles probably suffered from schizophrenia,
bipolar disorder,
or encephalitis.
Inflammation of the brain.
He was also known as Charles the Mad.
"'Tis certain he hath passed the river Somme. Bar Harry England that sweeps through our land with pennons painted in the blood of our floor. Go down upon him. You have power enough. His soldiers sick and famished in their march. For I am sure that when he sees our army, he'll drop his heart into the sink of fear. Say thou to Harry of England, though we seem dead, we did but sleep. Advantage a better soldier than rashness. Tell him that we could have rebuked him at our floor, but we did not think it good to bruise an injury till it were full ripe. England shall repent his folly, see his weakness, and admire our sufferance. For our losses and for our disgrace, his own person kneeling at our feet is but a weak and worthless satisfaction. Now forth, Lord Constable and princes all, and quickly bring us word of England's fall.
We give express charge that in our marches through the country there will be nothing compelled from the villages, nothing taken but paid for, none of the French upbraided or abused in disdainful language. We would have all such offenders so cut off. I do not seek the French king now, and could be willing to march on to Calais without impeachment. My army, but a weak and sickly guard, my numbers lessened, and those few I have almost no better than so many French. Yet, we will come on through France himself and such another neighbor stand in our way. What a long night is this. Beyond the river we encamp ourselves. The French lie within 1,500 paces of our tents. We would not seek a battle as we are. Nor, as we are, we say we will not shun it.
Now entertain conjecture of a time when creeping murmur and the pouring dark fills the wide vessel of the universe. From camp to camp, from tent to tent, the clocks do toll. The third hour of drowsy morning named. The confident and over-lusty French chide the crippled, tardy-gated knight, who like a foul and ugly witch doth limp so tediously away. The poor condemned English, like sacrifices by their watchful fire, sit patiently and inly ruminate the morning's danger.
I long to eat the English. I long to eat English.
Do but behold yon poor and starving band. Our show shall suck away their souls.
And our fair show shall suck away their souls.
There is not work enough for all our hands.
There's not work enough for all our hands. Scarce blood enough in all their sickly veins to give each naked kirtle axe a stain.
There is not work enough for all our hands. Scarce blood enough in all their sickly veins to give each kirtle axe a stain.
Let us but blow on them.
Let us but blow on them.
The vapor of our valor will overturn them.
They have said their prayers, and yet they stay for death.
Alas, poor Harry of England. He longs not for the dawning as we do.
Poor Harry of England. He longs not for the dawning as we do.
What a wretched and peevish fellow is this King of England.
What a wretched and peevish fellow is this King of England, to mope with his fat-brained followers so far out of his knowledge.
To mope with his fat-brained followers far beyond his knowledge.
If the English had any apprehension, they would run away.
The English had any apprehension,
they would run away.
This is Movie Time. Jeffrey Sumner reporting.
"'Tis true, we are in great danger.
Therefore, the greater should our courage be.
We see yonder the beginning of the day. But I think we shall never see the end of it.
We see yonder the beginning of the day, but I think we shall never see the end of it.
Methinks I could not die anywhere. so contented as in the king's company.
Methinks I could not die anywhere so contented as in the king's company. His cause being just, and his quarrel honorable.
We know enough if we know we are the king's subjects. I do not desire that he should answer for me.
Every subject's duty is the king's. But every subject's soul is his own.
But when our throats are cut, we are ne'er the wiser.
We know enough if we know we are the king's subjects. I do not believe you should answer for me. But when our throats are cut, and we're ne'er the wiser, upon the king let us our lives, our souls, our debts, our wives, our children, and our sins lay on the king.
The French are bravely in their battles set, and will with all expedience charge on us. Of fighting men they have full 70,000. 'Tis a fearful odds.
If we are marked to die, we are enough to do our country loss, and if to live, the fewer men, the greater share of honor. God's will, I pray thee wish not one man more, rather proclaim it, that he which hath no stomach to this fight, let him depart. His passport shall be made. We would not die in that man's company that fears his fellowship to die with us. This day is called the Feast of Crispian. He that outlives this day and comes safe home will stand o tiptoe when this day is named, and rouse him at the name of Crispian. He that shall see this day and live old age will yearly on the vigil feast his neighbors and say, tomorrow is Saint Crispian. Then will he strip his sleeve and show his scars. Old men forget, yet all shall be forgot. But he'll remember with advantages what feats he did that day. Then shall our names, familiar in his mouth as household words, be in their flowing cups freshly remembered. This story shall the good man teach his son, and Crispian shall ne'er go by, from this day to the ending of the world, but we in it shall be remembered. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers, for he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. Be he ne'er so vile, this day shall gentle his condition, and those in England now abed shall think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their lives cheap, whiles any speaks that fought with us upon St. Crispin's day. Now, soldier, march away, and how thou pleases God, dispose the day.
Okay, so we're here. In the distance there, you can see the church spire of the village of Agincourt.
On October 25th, Henry and a vastly outnumbered group of English soldiers clashed with French forces at Agincourt.
Historians tend to disagree over the exact size of the armies, but estimates place the English troops between 5,000 to 9,000 men, and the French forces around 12,000 to 30,000.
If you're an English archer, or an English man-at-arms, this is where you're going to spend the day fighting. Lined up just along here.
By all accounts, the French should have won the battle.
When French cavalrymen attempted to storm the English archers, they found their enemies protected by a sea of sharpened stakes.
Arrows rained down on the hapless French soldiers, sending their horses into a frenzy and wreaking havoc in the army's ranks.
Those who reached the English front lines were easily cut down, their bodies piling up on the field and blocking the way forward.
But this is where it happened, right here. Mad, isn't it? Like a billiard table.
Some 6,000 French soldiers died during the bloody battle.
The lamination of the French, and the peace, which before was so urged, invites this meeting wherefore we are met, as a branch. Our most fair and princely cousin, Catherine, daughter of France, by whom this great assembly is contrived. She is the capital demand, comprised, to order peace between them. If France would the peace, France must buy that peace, with full accord to all of Harry's demands.
Fair Catherine, and most fair, will you vouchsafe to teach a soldier terms such as will enter at a lady's ear and plead his love suit to her gentle heart?
Your Majesty shall mock at me. I cannot speak your England.
Oh, fair Catherine, if you will love me soundly with your French heart, I will be glad to hear you confess it brokenly with your English tongue. Do you like me, Kate?
Pardonnez-moi, I cannot tell what it is like me.
An angel is like you, Kate, and you are like an angel.
Alice, que dit-il? Que je suis semblable à les anges?
He says you look like an angel.
Oh, bon Dieu, les langues des hommes sont pleines de tromperies.
Alice, what says she?
Oh, good God, the tongues of men are full of deceptions.
The princess is the better English woman. A faith, Kate, my wooing is fit for thy understanding. I am glad thou canst speak no better English, for if thou couldst, thou wouldst find me such a plain king that thou would think I had sold my farm to buy my crown. I know no ways to mince it in love, but directly to say, I love you. Then, if you urge me farther, then to say, do you, in faith? I wear up my suit. Give me your answer, I faith do, and so clap hands in a bargain. How say you, lady?
Sauf votre honneur, me understand well.
Mary, I have no cunning in protestation. I speak to thee plain, Soldier, if thou can't love me for this, take me, a fellow of plain and uncoined constancy. Take me, take a soldier, take a king. And what sayest thou then to my love? Speak, my fair, and fairly, I pray thee.
Is it possible that I should love the enemy of France?
No, it is not possible you should love the enemy of France, Kate. But in loving me, you should love the friend of France, for I love France so well that I will not part with a village of it. I will have it all mine, and Kate, when France is mine and I am yours, then yours is France and you are mine.
I cannot tell what is that.
No, Kate? It is as easy for me, Kate, to conquer the kingdom as to speak much French.
Il est meilleur que l'anglais lequel je parle.
Alice, what says she?
It's better than the English I speak.
No, Faith, it's not. But Kate, dost thou understand thus much English? Canst thou love me?
I cannot tell.
By mine honor, in true English I love thee, Kate, and therefore tell me, most fair Catherine, will you have me? Put off your maiden blushes and say, Harry of England, I am thine, and I will tell thee aloud, England is thine, Ireland is thine, France is thine, and Henry Plantagenet is thine. Wilt thou have me?
That is as it shall please le roi mon père.
Nay, it will please him well, Kate. It shall please him, Kate.
Then it shall also content me.
Shall Kate be my wife?
So please you? Nous avons consenti à tous les termes de la raison. Le roi a accordé de chaque article sa fille d'abord et à la suite tous, selon leur nature proposée ferme.
Then, Kate, I call you my queen, and that the contending kingdoms of France and England, whose very shores look pale with the envy of each other's happiness, may cease their hatred. And this dear conjunction plant neighborhood and Christian-like accord in their sweet bosoms, that never war advance his bleeding sword twixt England and fair France.
Thus far, with rough and all unable pen, our bending author hath pursued this story. Little room confining mighty persons, small time, but in that small most greatly lived this star of England. Fortune made Henry's sword, and of it left his son, imperial lord. Henry the Sixth, an infant bands crowned king of England and France. But did this king succeed, whose state so many had the managing that they lost France and made his England bleed? So oft our stage has shown. For their sake, in your fair minds, let this acceptance take.